CompTIA Tech FC0-U71 Exam Style Practice Questions 2026. Question 1. A user is signing into several different websites using the exact same username and password. Which password policy would most likely prevent this practice? Password expiration, password complexity, password history, password reuse. A password reuse policy prevents users from using the same password across multiple accounts or systems by requiring unique credentials for each login. This policy reduces the risk that one compromised password could be used to gain access to other websites or applications. Question 2. An internet provider offers service that delivers data over the same coaxial lines used for television. Which type of internet service is this? DSL, fiber, cable, satellite. Cable internet delivers data using coaxial cables, the same lines that carry cable television signals. This allows providers to offer high-speed internet without installing separate infrastructure, often bundling TV and internet over a single line. Question 3. A user runs several programs at the same time on a computer. Which OS feature is responsible for prioritizing a program's use of system resources? Memory management, process management, file management, disk management. Process management is the OS feature that controls how programs use system resources like CPU and RAM. It prioritizes tasks, schedules their execution, and ensures that all running processes get the resources they need while keeping the system stable, allowing multiple programs to run smoothly at the same time. Question 4. A computer uses a GPU to handle complex graphics tasks, such as rendering images and videos. Which is the GPU an example of? Storage, memory, processing, input. A GPU, graphics processing unit, is an example of a processing component. It is designed to perform rapid calculations required for rendering graphics, video, and increasingly for other parallel processing tasks like AI and data analysis. By handling these operations, the GPU reduces the workload on the CPU and improves overall system performance. Question 5. A developer downloads an application from the internet and plans to change parts of its source code to fit their project needs. Which license type would most likely allow this? Proprietary, open source, freeware, shareware. An open-source license allows users to view, modify, and redistribute an application's source code. This type of license encourages collaboration and customization, giving developers the freedom to adapt software for their own needs. Unlike proprietary software where the code is closed and cannot be changed, open-source licensing provides the flexibility required for modifying applications. Question 6. An HR intern is learning about how to properly protect sensitive employee records. Which is an example of PI? Job title and department, full name and date of birth, work schedule and shift, employee ID only. Personally identifiable information, PI, refers to any data that can be used to identify an individual either directly or indirectly. Full name and date of birth together can uniquely identify a person. Protecting PI is critical for maintaining privacy and security, as exposure can lead to identity theft, financial fraud, or other malicious activities. Question 7. Given pseudocode with a conditional statement, if score greater than or equal to 70, then pass else fail. Which logic concept is being demonstrated? Sequencing, looping, branching, modularization. Branching is a programming concept that allows code to make decisions and follow different paths depending on conditions. It works by evaluating a statement and then choosing which set of instructions to execute based on the outcome. This enables programs to react differently to various inputs or situations instead of always running the same sequence of steps. Question 8. A user visits a website and notices new browser windows keep opening automatically with advertisements. Which browser feature should the user enable to prevent this behavior? Pop-up blocker, ad blocker, private browsing, cookie cleaner. A pop-up blocker is a browser feature that prevents unwanted windows or tabs from opening automatically while browsing. Enabling it helps reduce intrusive advertisements and enhances security by blocking potential malicious pop-ups, providing a smoother, safer browsing experience without constant interruptions. Question 9. A gaming company is demonstrating a headset that immerses players in a 3D environment where they can look around and interact with objects as if physically inside the game. Which device is being used? AR system, VR system, Mr. System, XR system. A virtual reality (VR) system uses a headset and sensors to immerse users in a simulated 3D environment. By tracking head and sometimes hand movements, VR systems make it possible to interact with digital objects in a way that feels lifelike. VR is commonly used in gaming, training simulations, and design applications where immersive experiences are beneficial. Question 10. A student is storing a small contact list in a spreadsheet file. Which is an advantage of using a flat file for this type of small dataset? Speed, security, scalability, data integrity. For small data sets such as a contact list stored in a spreadsheet, a flat file offers the advantage of speed. Data can be quickly entered, saved, and retrieved without the complexity of a full database system. The simplicity of flat files makes them efficient for lightweight tasks where advanced features like scalability, concurrent access, or relational integrity are unnecessary. Question 11. An employee needs to partition a hard drive and format a volume on their computer. Which OS tool should be used to perform this task? Device Manager, Task Manager, Disk Management, System Configuration. Disk management is the operating system tool used to configure and manage local storage. It allows users to perform tasks such as creating or deleting partitions, formatting drives, resizing volumes, and assigning drive letters. This tool provides control over how storage devices are organized and prepared for use, making it essential for setting up hard drives, SSDs, or external storage. Question 12. A technician is comparing two computers to determine which can process instructions faster. Which unit is used to measure the speed of a CPU? Megabytes, gigahertz, gigabytes, megabits. Gigahertz is used to measure the speed of modern CPUs, showing how many billions of cycles a processor can complete per second. A higher gigahertz rating usually means the CPU can process instructions more quickly, improving overall performance. In older processors, megahertz was commonly used, but today gigahertz has replaced it as the standard measurement. Question 13. A technician is reviewing log files to see how many times a particular user has logged into the network. Which security concept does this represent? Authentication, authorization, accounting, encryption. Accounting is the security concept that involves tracking and logging user activity such as login attempts, resource usage, or time spent on the network. By keeping detailed records, administrators can review actions taken by users, monitor for unusual behavior, and support auditing requirements. This process helps maintain accountability and ensures that user activity can be traced when needed. Question 14. An online retailer sells customer purchasing history to advertising companies for profit. Which concept does this best represent? Data monetization, data mining, data warehousing, data visualization. Data monetization is the process of turning data into revenue either by selling it directly or using it to create new value for the business. In this scenario, customer purchasing history is treated as a financial asset that can be sold to advertising companies, demonstrating how organizations can profit from data while also raising concerns about customer privacy and responsible data handling. Question 15. A company compiles and organizes its data into reports that executives use to guide business strategies and make informed decisions. Which best describes this process? Data collection, data storage, data processing, meaningful reporting. Meaningful reporting is the process of turning raw data into organized, useful information that decision makers can understand and act upon. By presenting data in a clear format, such as charts or summaries, companies provide leadership with insights that directly influence strategy and planning, helping transform large amounts of data into actionable knowledge that drives effective decision-making. Question 16. An employee plugs a USB flash drive into their work computer, but the system does not detect the device. Which is the most likely cause of this issue? Disabled USB port, corrupted driver, faulty flash drive, insufficient power. A disabled USB port prevents the system from recognizing a USB device when plugged in. In corporate environments, IT administrators often disable USB ports through system settings or security policies to protect against unauthorized data transfers and malware. If the port has been disabled, the USB flash drive will not appear or be usable on the computer. Question 17. A security administrator wants to confirm that a user has successfully signed into a company's web application. Which should be checked to verify the user was authenticated? Access logs, account logs, system logs, audit logs. Account logs record authentication events, such as successful and failed login attempts. By checking these logs, administrators can verify that a user was authenticated by the web server and see details of when and how access occurred. These records are also critical for auditing, detecting suspicious behavior, and troubleshooting login problems. Question 18. A technician is upgrading a laptop storage and installs a component that uses the M.2 form factor. Which device is being installed? SATA SSD, HDD, NVMe drive, optical drive. NVMe drives often use the M.2 form factor, which is a compact, high-speed interface designed for solid-state storage. M.2 NVMe drives connect directly to the motherboard, offering much faster performance than traditional SATA-based SSDs or HDDs. The small size of M.2 makes it especially useful in laptops and modern desktops where space and speed are both important. Question 19. A project manager is reviewing a flowchart that maps out the steps of a business process. One of the shapes in the diagram is a diamond. Which does the diamond represent in a flowchart? Start/end. Process. Decision. Connector. In a flowchart, a diamond represents a decision point where the process may continue in different directions depending on the outcome of a condition. It is used to show where choices or evaluations occur within a workflow, helping clearly illustrate how processes branch based on specific factors. Question 20. A technician is preparing to back up a workstation to ensure important information can be restored if the system fails. Which would be the most important to include in the backup? Operating system files, installed applications, application data, temporary files. Application data must be included in a workstation backup because it contains the user's files, settings, and information created by programs. Even if the software can be reinstalled, the unique data generated by applications would be lost without a backup. Ensuring this data is preserved allows the user to return to normal operation quickly after a system failure. Question 21. Given pseudocode with a series of numbers grouped together, e.g., 10, 20, 30, 40, which best describes the data type used? String, array, integer, float. An array is a collection of values stored together that can be accessed or read as needed. In the pseudocode, the data line provides a series of numbers grouped together, which the program reads into variables during execution. This sequence of stored values represents an array, making it the best description of the data type being used. Question 22. A developer is writing low-level code to directly control hardware functions while creating a device driver. Which programming language would most likely be used for this task? Python, Java, Assembly, C++. Assembly language is a low-level programming language that gives programmers precise control over CPU instructions and memory. Because of this, it is often used to write device drivers, firmware, and other hardware-level applications. Unlike higher-level languages, assembly is closely tied to machine code, making it uniquely suited for hardware control. Question 23. A programmer wants to ensure their application runs as efficiently as possible during runtime. Which language type should the programmer use? Interpreted, compiled, scripting, markup. A compiled language is converted into machine code before execution, which allows the program to run more efficiently at runtime. Since the code is already translated into instructions the CPU can understand, it avoids the overhead of interpretation. This makes compiled languages faster and better suited for performance-critical applications. Question 24. An employee connects a wireless router in the front office, but notices the Wi-Fi signal is very weak when trying to connect from the storage room in the back. Which is the most likely cause of the issue? Interference, incorrect password, router overheating, outdated firmware. Interference happens when physical barriers or objects such as walls, shelving, or equipment block or weaken a Wi-Fi signal. Signals may struggle to pass through multiple walls or large storage areas, resulting in poor connectivity. Other electronic devices operating on the same frequency band can also interfere, causing slower speeds, dropped connections, or dead zones. Question 25. An IT administrator disables access for employees who no longer require entry to a shared project folder. Which security principle is being applied? Need to know. Least privilege, separation of duties, defense in depth. The least privilege principle means giving users only the minimum access necessary to perform their work and removing access when it is no longer required. By restricting file share access to only those who need it, the administrator reduces the risk of unauthorized use or data breaches. This principle is a cornerstone of security best practices and helps maintain confidentiality and proper control of resources.